And we are live. Good to good to see you. That graphic came up pretty quick. This is the Zenbook S13 OLED, the UX5304 live unboxing. We can bring that back in a moment. I didn't mean for it to come on, but it did come on. But it's appropriate because we have it here. You can see it right here. This is the box that came from ASUS, and of course, I will thank ASUS for sending it over. Of course, I'm not being paid by ASUS. I'm not being sponsored by ASUS. All these opinions you're about to hear are my own, and ASUS is not getting any copy approval. Obviously, we're doing this live. So that is the disclaimer. And of course, I'm glad to see everybody here. It is now Thursday, April 27th, 2023, 5:48 p.m. Pacific time here in Las Vegas. Good to see everybody. Good to have you back for another live unboxing. Now, we did look at an OLED model from ASUS a couple of weeks ago, and I will have that review up on the channel probably the next day or so. That is the ASUS Zenbook 14X OLED. Now, that was the Q410 model. That was the one that was supposed to be sold at Best Buy, but unfortunately, they had the wrong plug-in. In fact, I got a review unit from ASUS about a week later, and that one is the 420. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it has an i7, a little bit better performance, obviously. And of course, it'll have a higher price tag, although the pricing has not yet been set. So I will have a comparison between that i5 model that Best Buy was supposed to sell or may still sell at some point. And then, of course, I will have the i7 with the more RAM, and that, of course, will be the one I think you should look at. But either way, we've got this one in. This is an incredibly thin and light laptop, not a convertible, but it is a clamshell. And let's take a look at those specs real quick, and then we'll say hello to a few people as we will get this out of the box. We're looking at the ASUS Zenbook S13 OLED, the UX5304. It's got a 13.3-inch, 2.8K display. That means you're looking at 2880 by 1800 as far as the Let me go back a little bit. As far as the display is concerned, 550 nits of peak brightness, 16:10 aspect ratio. Now this one is 60 hertz. The 14-inch model we looked at had a 120 hertz refresh rate. So this is going to be 60 hertz. But where this is going to be pretty special, it's going to be the size, and we'll get to that in a moment. Iris Xe graphics, of course. We're looking at 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's on board. It's not user upgradable. 1 terabyte of storage, PCIe Gen 4, 63 watt hours of battery on this. We'll get, of course, in my full review. We'll check that out. And then, of course, Wi-Fi 6E along with Bluetooth 5.3. Now, if we look at the other specs that are going to come up now, it's only 1 kilogram or 2.20 pounds, or really that is pretty amazing to have 1 kilogram. It's got the basalt gray as far as the finish on it. We'll talk about that when we get it out of the box. Full HD camera, yada, yada, yada. Now this comes in at $1,399.99, so $1,399 over at Best Buy. If you want to check it out and more information, see the link in the description below. So we have 24 of you watching. Good to see everybody here. Let's get some of the regulars in here. Let's say hello to Silk95. Good to see you once again. Good evening to you. Good to see Constantine. Good to see William, our moderator. Good to see our good friend Duck Vision. We haven't seen you. I guess we saw you last time, but good to see you always. And Rafael Perez, our moderator, and Mad Rojas. How are you, my friend? Okay, so we got 22 of you watching. So let's get this thing out of the box, as I'm pretty excited about this one. Now, this is going to be a U-series processor. It's not going to be P-series or H-series as we saw on the last one. But I think the name of the game here is going to be portability, light as a feather, really, 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds. It's going to be pretty interesting. It's also got some good durability. Good to see Black Cell 22. Aloha to you, my friend. And let's get it set up. So let's bring it to the top-down shot. And let me get the comment off, and let's get this straightened out. And then, of course, without further ado, let's get this out of the box. Okay, let's see what we have in here. Let's start off, and we'll get rid of some of this stuff. We don't need this. So it looks like we get a case with this. We'll get to that in a moment. So here's your power charger. It is 65 watts. It's pretty compact, pretty nice and light. It's USB Type-C, of course, as you see there. So that's going to be pretty good. So let's put that to the side. And then they give you this little carrying case that says Zenbook on it. It's a nice little touch. Again, $13.99 over at Best Buy for those interested. The link in the description below. So it's a nice fabric on it. And it's got a little space for a pen. So I guess for models that have a pen, you have a place to store it. This is not going to be, I don't think there's any pen support or even a touch display on this. So pretty interesting. So nice to include a carrying sleeve in the box. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of information regarding this. You can see it here. So we're looking at, again, one kilogram or 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds, 10.9 millimeters thin. So it's going to be incredibly thin and light. Military rating here, of course. That means it undergone a series of tests, IR camera, full IO, 63 watt hours, yada, yada, yada. Okay, let's see what's in here. So we get some documentation here. Incredible comes from within is their motto here, I guess. That must be their new motto. So this is the documentation. So you get your start guide, you've got your user guide here, and then of course, a little diagram of the laptop itself. Nothing too crazy. Wow, this thing is incredibly light. Wow, look at that. So basalt gray is what they're calling this. It's almost like a slate, like a tile, not a tile. What is it? What is it? It's almost like a stone. It's pretty nice, actually. You can see it here. Very thin and light. Wow, this is incredible. This is incredibly thin and light. Look how thin that is, people. That thing is pretty amazing. Look at that. Wow. In fact, you can probably get a better shot over here on just how thin this is. Holy smokes. Wow. Good job here, ASUS. Look at this. This thing is just incredibly thin and light. I mean, I'm pretty blown away. And, you know, I've dealt with a lot of ultra portables in my time, and this thing is just incredibly thin and light. I mean, this thing is pretty amazing. All right, so let's put it down for a moment. All right, so let's open it up. Let's see if we can do the one-handed test. Not that it really matters, but let's try to do it anyway. You can sort of do it, but again, incredibly light. I'm not expecting it. So let's try it again. Not quite. You're going to have to use two hands, I guess. Wow. So let's see. Does this have the ergo lift hinge? Let's see. Yeah, it does. It lifts up to give you a raised typing angle. It also gives you a little bit more airflow. You can see it from here. That is incredibly nice. Now, it goes back 180 degrees. That is looking good, people. Basalt gray. So I just can't get over how thin and light this is. I mean, and now on the bottom, it's a lighter gray on the bottom, but it has this like slate gray type, like almost like a stone feel to it. It really feels pretty interesting. I'm liking it so far. We're going to bring out the scale. Let me go get my scale for a moment. Let's bring it on this camera. Let me bring the scale in. Let's get an exact weight on it. All right, so they're saying 1 kilogram. That means 2.2 pounds. $1.054, so pretty close actually. And if we want to go to a different unit, that would be 2.52 pounds. So not quite the 1 kilogram, but definitely pretty close. 1.055. So let's see what it weighs with in terms of the power charger. This is the travel weight. We don't have the case on it yet. So this would be 1.274 kilograms. So 1.275 kilograms. That's the travel weight with the travel adapter. Okay. And then of course you have the carrying sleeve. Let's put it in there. Let's get a weight with everything all in. So in its traveling sleeve, let's put it onto the scale. And I'm seeing 1.229 kilograms. Or if we want to change that to pounds, we're looking at 2.11 pounds, around there, with 2.114. So pretty nice, pretty nice. Okay, so that's the weight. Let's put the scale off to this. Let's get it out of camera. We don't need it for now. And then, again, nice fit in terms of the carrying sleeve. A nice little touch to include that. It has the little logo here, and you can see it here. There's that ASUS logo, almost like a Star Trek logo, in my opinion. Really nice. It's not leather or anything. It's like a faux leather type thing. It says Zenbook right across there. Okay, so let's take it out of the sleeve. So it'll protect it when you're not using it. Put it in your bag, use the sleeve. And it's as far as pushing the lid, let's take a look at it here. So a little bit of flex. Again, this is probably a magnesium alloy here. To get it that light at 1 kilogram or so, really you're looking at a little bit of flex. Nothing, it's built well. The build quality is really good. It's rock solid. But of course, that is what you're going to get. All right, so let's take a look at this keyboard. Let me get this on for here. You know what? For a thin and light laptop, it feels pretty good. Okay. Here's the touchpad. On pretty nicely, nice and tight. Hinges look good. Very little, if any, screen wobble when you're typing. That's great. Okay, so pretty impressive. Thin and light is the name of the game here, folks. So let's see how many we have. We have 43 of you, but only 26 likes. I don't get it. I guess you guys don't like this stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm wasting my time. I don't know. Okay, so let's get it powered on. Let me plug it in. Oh, we didn't do the ports. So before we plug it in, let's go over the ports. Okay, so we'll switch to this camera here to give you a nice close look. So on the left side, you get an HDMI 2.1 port. That's going to, of course, be able to connect to a 4K monitor, 60 hertz. 2 USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports. They are full function. They support data, charge, and display out. On the right side is a USB-A port. Love to see that on such a thin and light laptop. That's pretty amazing. A 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack. There's no SD card reader, but I gotta say, for a thin and light laptop that is ultra portable, about 1 kilogram and 10 millimeters in terms of thickness, this thing is a pretty nice in terms of the ports. Here you can get a nice close-up of the keyboard. And again, I'm liking that keyboard tactility, and the feedback so far felt good. Of course, we just took it out of the box. I'll have to do my long-term testing, but looking good so far. Okay, so let's plug it in now that we've got a chance to look at the ports, and let's see if this will power on. Maybe yes, it does. Okay, that's a good sign. It's always a good sign when something powers on. OLED display, 13.3 inches, 2.8K, 2880 by 1800. IPS, oh no, OLED. Why am I saying IPS? OLED, but it is not 120 hertz. It's 60 hertz, but of course, you got to understand, this is in a thin chassis, light chassis. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. I don't believe this is going to be a touch display or anything like that. But again, name of the game here is portability. Good to see Mad Rojas. Wow, very impressive how thin and light it is. Looks great. Great piece of engineering work there, especially wondering how they could fit the cooling system. Well, first of all, U-series processor here, which is great. And I think I'm going to have to put in a special code in to get into this from what I remember my rep saying. So we'll see about that in a moment. Again, name of the game is portability here. So I'm glad to see that. Now, the materials used feel A-okay. I really like the build. I like the look of the basalt gray. I think it looks pretty good. And we're going to get this set. Oh, I guess it looks like they already set it up for me. So that's good. We don't have to go through the whole setup process. If you want to get a look, it's a glossy display. It's not a touch screen. Let's see it from here. You can actually see it here. It's a pretty bright display, so that is pretty nice. All right, so let's see if we can bump up the brightness a little bit. Okay, so I'll try to not get too much screen glare there. All right, so this would be brightness over here. So that's all the way up, and it's a little blown out. Let me bring it down. 550 nits of peak brightness according to the specs. Okay, and 65, yeah, it's a 65-watt charger, Raphael. Yes, that is correct. You don't need more. It's integrated Iris Xe graphics. I hear the fan going already. Again, thin and light is going to be interesting. See how the thermals will do on this. I already see McAfee on here. We're going to have to get rid of that. Let me put in my passcode for my network. Let me put it on me for a second. We're also streaming this on Twitter. So for everybody watching on Twitter, welcome. Okay, we're connected. And let me update the date and the time zone and all that stuff. Specific. So let me get that password. Yeah, it's asking me for it. Give me a second. I have to go to my email. Just give me a second. I don't know why this is the first time they make me go through this password or something. I don't know. Let me see. So I got an email yesterday. There we go. So let me put that in. Okay, worked. Okay, so okay, so now the time and the date is correct. This is a beautiful display. Wow. All right, so let's get some of the benchmarks loaded in. Let me put it in. Let me load in my benchmarks here. Hold on. Okay. You can actually see what I'm doing here. All right, so let's open the folder up. Let me bring in, let's see, Cinebench. Actually, you know what? There we go. Let's put that onto the hard drive. So the SSD should be a terabyte. We're looking at 32 gigabytes of storage. So we'll see how that all will play out in terms of the performance. Again, I'm not expecting major performance on such a thin and light laptop, but what I would like to see is decent performance for everyday use and, of course, portability. And I wanted to see good battery life, of course. So we got a 63 watt hour battery. So according to William, nice looking laptop, right? I agree. 13.3 inch display OLED. I think 60 hertz is more than enough for the screen size. Yeah, for what the audience that's going to use this, I think you don't need to go 120. And I think we're going to have to we're going to see what kind of battery life we'll get out of that. I'm looking forward to testing that out, especially with the OLED display. 63 watt hour and such a thin and light, maybe it might be pretty good. We'll see. I don't know. And again, 60 hertz as opposed to 120, we're definitely going to get more longevity. Again, going with the higher refresh rate means you're going to lose battery life. That's not the case, at least with this 60 hertz display. All right, so let me also get Geekbench loaded in here as well. So let me go. Oh, I hate this shit. Okay, so start without your data, confirm and start browsing. All right, I'm going to go to geekbench.com. All right. Let's download Geekbench 6. Hopefully, we'll get the latest version, obviously. So this way, because we know we had a few issues in the past. So I want to make sure we use the latest version of Geekbench. And speaking of which, let's also load in the My ASUS app or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, My ASUS, where we can control the performance mode of the thermal profile and all that stuff. So all that jazz. Oh, yeah, you got to put in that enter homepage. Here we go. Okay. So we go to the user center. I forget where it is. My advanced experience. Okay. Customization. Battery. So we got the fan profile. Here it is. All right. So we're going to put it into performance mode. And I already hear the fans kicking in. Or fan. I don't actually, if you want to see the internals, I actually have a photo of it. So I was able to get a photo of it. I haven't opened this up. This is the first time I'm seeing this in person, but I was able to source a photo. So let me close that and let's make sure we're in the settings here, balanced. We're going to put this in performance mode. But for those wondering, this is what the internals look like. So you're going to be able to upgrade the SSD, and we'll check out the reads and write speeds in a moment. But we got two fans on this, and not much else is in fact, nothing else is upgradable as far as what I can see. Looks like the Wi-Fi card must be soldered in somewhere, and then of course the RAM is soldered in. And we're looking at I believe it's 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM. So that's going to be good for here 2023. So that's the internals for those wondering. All right, so let me now go to my downloads. And let's see if we can get Geekbench up and running. I definitely hear the fans, and we'll definitely get some measurements as far as the decibel level once we get these up and running, some of the more intensive benchmarks. And maybe we'll also do the, and I'm going to have to keep putting in this password. Hold on. So let me put it on me for a moment. This is going to be a little bit of annoying. Happening real time. Okay, and let's now load this in. Let's install it. Definitely can hear the fans. Let me see if you can hear it with my secondary mic. I don't know if you could hear that, but it is definitely going full force right now. All right, so let's run Geekbench 6. Okay. We have 56 of you watching. All right, so let's close these windows and let's see if this will run without any issues. Sometimes on the first run or two, we always seem to get some issue with, it's Geekbench. It's not these units, it's the Geekbench. Hopefully they've optimized it. You know, Geekbench 6 is relatively new. It's out for a couple of months now, but it seems to have gotten better. But initially there were a few bugs that I guess were plaguing it. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll get a good idea of what the single core, multi-core, and I can definitely hear the fans right now. In fact, let me get a measurement even on here. Yeah, that's pretty loud. 59, 58. That's going full force right now. Pretty noticeable. But again, you know, everyday use, we'll see how that works. Of course, I'll report my findings. Paul Hahn is asking, is the Zenbook 14X OLED with discrete GPU coming soon? Yeah, so I have an updated version of the one I got, and I'm supposed to be getting some more stuff from ASUS, so stay tuned. Got a little bit delayed, but they did send me this one, so we're starting to see some of the stuff filter in. So stay tuned, Paul. It's coming. It's all coming. Yeah, I got to take McAfee out, that's for sure. Love the bright display. Me too, Raphael. The SSD is the only thing upgradable. That is correct. It also can't run hot just browsing the web. No, that would be pretty bad, right, Duck Vision? That would be pretty bad. If I get that right. But we'll see. See, it's always the case. Let's try it again. See, I think there must be some issue with Geekbench that the first or second time I try to run the CPU benchmark, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't give us the result. Maybe if we have the edge open, see, it just stops. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to load in some other benchmarks. We'll come back to this. But in the meantime, let me remove McAfee from this. And then we'll restart it because I just don't want to have, maybe it's McAfee, you know, rearing its ugly head. I don't know. So let me remove McAfee and, oh, I hear the fans are really going right now. Wow, this is going to be annoying with this password. Give me a second. Okay, and let's get rid of this crap. Yeah. I hate how they brand it. So ID is saying, I hate how they branded HDMI 2.1, but it's not a real 2.1. It's TMDS. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. Tell me the difference. What is TMDS as opposed to 2.1? Well, they do list it as 2.1, but again, you're saying it's not the real 2.1, it's TMDS. We should look into that. I've meant to look into that, but I totally forgot. But if somebody can give us a little, if somebody can educate us, that'd be great. You need FRL for real 2.1. Okay. The display looks beautiful. What about the trackpad's touch and feel? Yeah, so far the touchpad feels really good. Feels really good. I don't want to stop what I'm doing there, but click is pretty nice, pretty responsive. It's a nice size relative to the overall size of the unit. It's actually pretty good. So we'll see. The display is really good. I'm really impressed. They're saying 550 nits of peak brightness. So we'll get all the actual measurements. HDMI rebranded, everything 2.1. Okay, good to know. All right, so let's close. Let's see. Sorry to see you go. We'd love to hear why. Slows down my PC. Let's just say that. All right, let's restart it. Okay, and then I should try disabling the firewall, but it seems to work eventually, like when we restart it, and it's doing a update. But anyway, we can take a look at the rear of the unit. What I'm really liking is this basalt gray. This thing is sharp looking, and for those joining us late, look how thin and light this thing is. I mean, that's incredibly thin and light. I mean, I can't get over this. You know, it's pretty portable, that's for sure. And of course, you have a 180-degree hinge, and you can see here, it has an ergo lift hinge. So it lifts it up. You can see it there. So it gives you a little bit more typing angle, gives you a little bit more airflow. Slaps the lid. You know how many McAfees you can fit in here? You're not kidding, Keyboard G. Good to see you. Possibly the MacBook Air of Windows. Well, Jay, you know, it's looking really good. The only thing I'm really concerned about is this really loud fan noise on this. And by the way, I want to thank ASUS for sending this over. Now, I'm not being sponsored. I know there are a bunch of videos out that are sponsored. I'm not one of them. So this was sent over, you know, for me to review. And of course, they're not getting copy approval or anything I'm going to be doing on this. So just so you know, but I think the videos that are already out on this were seeded as sponsored. So I just want to make it clear I'm not one of them. So just so you know. Is it warm? I don't think it's too warm. No, it's not too warm. It's a little warm on the bottom, but nothing to be concerned about. And we'll get some measurements. But it's definitely pretty noticeable, that fan noise. But of course, we're in the performance mode. So that certainly will play a role in that. We'll put it into the balanced, and we'll see how that does. But yeah, it's very thin. It's very thin. So it's got to cool somehow. Now, the MacBook Air is thicker, but of course, they went with passive cooling. So let the updates come in on this, and then we'll try again, and then we'll run a few. We'll do the Cinebench R23 and all that stuff. We'll measure the SSD. We'll look at all the stuff that we always do, right? And then of course I'll edit it down, and then we'll get out a recorded video for you. Obviously, you're not going to want an hour plus video, but of course 15 to 20 minutes is what you usually get from me. The performance setting is the ultra performance, or the whatever the top performance in the My ASUS app. All right, so any questions? Let's go through it. Is it warm? Are we just, Zhao, not really, but again, we still have to push it a little bit more, and we'll get a more definitive answer to you. And I will try, maybe we should try disabling the firewall. That might work. Thanks, William. What worries Jerry is that it is thin enough to make it difficult in case of an RMA service. I recall fine products generally generate problems to repair. Well, I think ASUS is a big enough company, obviously, that they have a pretty good warranty from what I understand. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry too much. This is not their first rodeo. So I would think that you're going to get some pretty good support. Now, it does have a military standard 810G or 810H rating. I don't remember, but the specs, I'll put it in the video. Definitely underwent a series of tests to ensure that it is rugged and so forth. So it's reloading here. So let's... you can see it here. And again, this display is pretty gorgeous. So, and we're looking at a U-series processor. I'm not expecting gangbuster performance, as I mentioned earlier, because, you know, it's just not realistic for this, right? So we'll see. And that it just ran an update, so that's maybe good to see here. Maybe we'll try running it one more time here, Geekbench. And of course, I got to put in the password. This is going to get pretty annoying. I guess they want to control the units somehow. And I don't blame them. You know, maybe people get these units and they don't return them, maybe. I don't know. Could be. I'm just happy to get it, you know, and I'll just give it a fair shake, of course. All right, so we just loaded Geekbench, and let's see how this is going to perform. Hopefully we'll get an actual number this time. We'll enter that later. Okay, all right, let's see how the CPU benchmark will result in, okay? Hit that thumbs up. All right, Keyboard G, I appreciate that. As we do have 50 likes, we have 54 of you watching. So George just says it's his favorite of the year. Okay. I'm impressed with how thin and light this thing is. It's pretty incredible. So Mad Rowhouse is saying the fan noise is understandable due to the benchmark performance test running, but for a normal use, it should be a great laptop. Yeah, I think so. Again, let's premise this by saying, yeah, I'm running benchmarks. So it makes sense on an extremely thin and light laptop that we have here. I mean, look how thin. I mean, this thing is just it's stupid thin, right? Stupid thin, as the youngins say. All right, so let's get a look at it over here. So yeah, it's running, and we'll see how the benchmark will turn out. I definitely hear I'm hearing it for sure. It's pretty loud. But again, I'm in the performance mode. And there are more updates ready to be installed, as you see down there. So yeah, more updates ready. So, take these first initial results with a grain of salt, as they always say, because you never know what's going to happen as far as once everything is up and running and everything's updated and so forth. So, okay. So let's see how it is doing over on Twitter, just to make sure everything looks okay. We have a couple of people watching. All right, so that's good. We already had a couple of likes from some people. Okay, that's good. Always good to see that. Okay, and I'm not expecting huge numbers. Razor thin, as they say, absolutely. One Bad Van, good to see you. Now that Windows allows iMessage, this might tempt people over some more Mac users, might tempt the Mac users. Maybe, I don't know. See, they seem to be pretty happy in the Mac OS realm, but you never know. Which is lighter, this one or the MSI Summit? Oh no, this is lighter. Summit is about 3 pounds or so, right? About around there. This is 2.2 pounds, but I measured maybe a tad, a little bit more. But again, everybody's scale may be a little bit off or not as calibrated or whatever, but it's in the realm. It's in the realm. This is definitely lighter than that. This is going to be competing with the Gram, like the LG Gram line and so forth. And hopefully I'll be getting some of their new laptops in. We'll see. And it looks like it didn't work again. So I'm going to skip this for now. Let's just go to a next benchmark, and then I'll figure all that out. I always do. All right. So let's go to my drive here. Let me load in. Let's do this one first. The downloads. Let me go to my downloads. Let's do Cinebench R15 here. It's a quick one, as you know. We can get an idea of the CPU and the GPU with that. Let's extract that. All happening live, folks. It seems zippy, though. It definitely seems zippy. So according to One Bad Van, 2.2 pounds makes it the same as my son's HP Aero 13, which I reviewed a year or so ago. I might have missed it, but what is this made of? So I think this is a magnesium alloy to get it this light, right? Usually that's the case. I'll double check. They're using premium materials, that's for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can see it here. Pretty premium type of materials. I just can't get how thin and light this is. So it's pretty amazing. All right, so let me get this loaded in. And let's get our first benchmark, because Geekbench did not want to cooperate. Okay. I had a drink here, but I lost it somewhere. I found it. All right. And by the way, I scheduled my review for the MSI Summit for the morning. So tomorrow it'll be dropping at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And I liked it. So no surprise. It's got a lot of things to offer. Really good battery life too, by the way, for those wondering. All right, so let's keep going here. And again, Iris Xe graphics, we're not expecting great numbers here. And even compromise a little bit by the, see, it's about 88. That's about what we would expect on this. All right, let's do the CPU test real quick. We'll use this, of course, in my video, which will be upcoming. As we have 50 of you watching. We're looking at the Core i7-1355U, and I believe that's 10 cores. Let me just double check. Core i7-1355U. So according to Intel's page on that, 10 cores, that's 2 performance cores and 8 efficient cores. Maximum turbo frequency of 5 gigahertz, and it's a 15 watt base power. Maximum turbo power 55 watts, minimum assured power of 12 watts. So 10 cores. And it also has 12 threads. And there you can see, again, these are numbers. I'm not expecting big numbers. Let me take a screenshot. Okay. So yeah, magnesium alloy. Yes, thank you for confirming that, Raphael. Magnesium alloy, that's how they get it so thin and light. All right. So let's move on to the next benchmark. And let me go to my downloads. Let me go to the Cinebench R20 real quick, and we'll get that one done. That's not going to take long. We'll do the camera after this, or actually we'll do the SSD, then we'll do the camera, full HD, and then we'll probably do the Cinebench R23. At least we'll do the multi-core score. I don't know if I'll have time for both, single and multi-core. But I'll have all the numbers, of course, in my upcoming full review. One Bad Van is asking, I'm curious how much performance it maintains on battery, still a weakness of Windows. Well, I'll find out. Sometimes, obviously these become less powerful on battery. One of the great things I think Apple has done is they're able to maintain good power even on battery. So that is impressive engineering. All right, so let's run the Cinebench R20. And hopefully we'll get a good score. Again, 10 cores here, 15 watt processor, 12 threads. Integrated Iris Xe graphics. But of course, this tests the CPU. And I'm curious to see, and we'll load in let me get this ready. I'm going to load in my thermal camera. I want to see how the thermals are doing on some of these initial benchmarks. So I'll get that ready and we can take a look. Okay. Okay, I hear the fans are going, so this will be a good time for me to show you this. So let's go 4. Okay, so here you can see it. So about 50 degrees over here Celsius. Okay. Let's get the underside. So about 54 degrees over here. Okay, I think that's good enough. And then let's get one side over here. So it's getting around 40, 49, 50 around this area of the keyboard. Okay. Okay, so we got that done. And noise so far, and we got our score here. Let's take a look at it. And I'm not seeing incredibly great numbers here, but of course I'm not expecting it. Okay. So let's test the SSD and then we'll take a look at the camera. Isn't this fun, ladies and gentlemen? All right. So let's go to this and let's get, oh, that's right. I forgot. Give me a second. We're going to have to do that for every little install here. Oh, I put in the wrong password. Okay. So we're looking at 1 terabyte of SSD storage. It's supposed to be PCIe Gen 4. So we'll hopefully get some good speeds in terms of the reads and the writes. Chat's awfully quiet today. No, not excited? This is pretty exciting, actually. Okay. Looking good so far on the read. Oh. No, there's no troublemakers today, right? Yeah. They're bored. Where are all the troublemakers? I don't know. I don't care. All right. So if you want to take a look again, for those that are joining us late, this is the ASUS Zenbook S13 OLED here for 2023. This is the basalt gray, absolutely gorgeous finish. It's a super thin and light laptop, 10 millimeters thin, 2.2 pounds or 1 kilogram. Yes. We're not kidding here, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is ultra portable. Yeah, Eric, this is exciting. I agree. I was hoping for a 14-inch of this with an AMD processor, but this is a good laptop so far. Well, looks-wise, it's amazing. Whether or not it's going to be the performer, I don't think it's meant to be a gangbuster performer type of laptop, but it definitely somebody who does a lot of travel, that doesn't want to lug around a heavy laptop to weigh them down. This thing, you probably will hardly notice it in your bag. You just throw it in there and it's ready to rock and roll. Perfect for consuming media, especially with this gorgeous OLED display that you see here, right? So a little blown out on the camera, of course. It's super bright. They're claiming 550 nits of peak brightness. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. I can tell you from the eyeball test, it definitely is very bright. Does this have Iris Xe graphics, rough user? Good to see you. Yes, it is Iris Xe. It's loading in again. Must be doing stuff in the background. Okay, right. Don't jinx. Yeah, that's okay. Eric, we're okay. It looks like it's pretty decent. Yeah, you can see it here. Pretty decent score. 69.45 on the read, 51.60 on the write. Let's let it run through this test, and then we'll test out the full HD camera, as we have 33 of you watching. Yeah, it's a peak brightness. Now, I don't know if it's going to actually hit maybe an HDR or whatever it is. In fact, I don't even know if it's an HDR display. We should probably check that out. In fact, let's go to display settings. Of course, I'm plugged in, so it won't show it. But we can look at a few things here. So the HDR won't show when that's plugged in, of course. And then 2880 by 1800. And then advanced graphics, of course, this is 60 hertz, not 120 like we saw on the 14-inch one that I recently took a look at on the 14X OLED. So there you go. All right, so this is running, and then we'll take a look at the camera in a moment. As we have 59 likes, so please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. Let's get this spread out over YouTube, and we're also simultaneously streaming on Twitter. So welcome to those watching on Twitter. Let me just make sure everything looks okay on Twitter. Everything looks like it's okay. And okay. Good deal. Good deal. All right. Looks like so far, knock on wood, the bandwidth is holding up. So we're almost done with this test. As we're approaching 53 minutes. As we are hitting that hour mark. So I don't know how long we're going to go tonight, but we'll go as long as we can. All right, as long as it's reasonable. All right, so that is a good score. So let me, good reads and writes. Let me take a screenshot for use in the video for the review. Okay, that's done. Now, let's take a look at the camera on this. So let's see. Now, we'll take a look. I think it's an IR camera, if I'm not mistaken. Looks pretty good. So this is 1080p. Let's go to the settings here. Yeah, 1080p video quality. That's always good. Looks pretty good. Nice and clear. What more can you want? Looks good. All right, so camera check looks okay. Now, I think it is, and let's go to the specs here. Let's see what the camera is in terms of IR. I think it is. So according to this, we'll get to the next, and this is a good chance for you to look at the specs here. The next set of specs will have the camera, and we'll know right there. So it's going to come in right now, and that is a full HD camera with IR function. So Windows Hello. I don't know. I don't think there's a fingerprint scanner on this. So it might be Windows Hello is the only way for you to log in as far as Windows Hello. But you got to, of course, use your password or passcode. So that's fine. All right. Looks pretty good. What do you think? Looks pretty good. All right. Let's turn this off. Camera, look, we got the seal of approval from Williams, so that means it is good. Mad Rojas, pretty good speed. It's all around a very good device. Love the portability and that OLED gorgeous display. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? It is pretty gorgeous. All right, let's load in Cinebench R23. That's a run for about 10 minutes as we can get a good look to see how much throttling. And I would imagine there will be some throttling. Although these fans really do kick in, so we'll see. We'll see if it's maintaining good speeds. Well, no, I'll know from the score pretty much. And then, of course, I will, in the review video, run the Time Spy stress test, which will know if it does power throttle under heavy load. That will definitely indicate whether it is or not. How much of one of these costs? So, good question, rough user. This comes in at, and I'll show you the specs, $1399.99, price as tested. There is a link to the Best Buy in the description below where you want to pick one up. So $1399.99, 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds or so. And then, of course, you're getting this OLED display, 13.3 inches, yada, yada, yada. So pretty interesting stuff. Yes, thanks, Raphael. $1399.99. And I'll get the Geekbench once everything is settled in, and then we can get a score for you. I'll have to just do it in the video. All right, let's do the multi-core on this Cinebench R23. This is a 10-minute test that will test to see how much multi-core performance we can get under a sustained workload. 32 gigabytes of RAM is correct. One bad van. DDR5, and I believe it's 4800 megahertz. LP DDR4X 5X. LPDDR5X 4800 megahertz RAM. 32 gigabytes soldered in. In fact, we can look at it right here. This is what it looks like internally. 2 fans, 63 watt-hour battery, PCIe Gen 4 SSD that is upgradable, slotted in, and RAM is soldered into the motherboard. Again, 32 gigabytes of RAM. And it is 32 gigabyte LPDDR5. 1 terabyte. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. All the numbers. I come prepared, people. I come prepared. You have questions, I try to have answers. Where can you get such good service, huh? Where can you get such good service? And I'm not even being paid. So all the other videos on this, they're being paid. Maybe I should be paid. I don't know. I like my integrity. So according to One Bad Van, a maximum spec M2 Air with 24 gigabytes of RAM is about $3,000. Woo. Curious to what this will be. Haven't seen Canadian prices. I don't have Canadian prices. I have U.S. prices here. So you can see that here. $13.99.99 over at Best Buy. And I actually have a graphic here. So this is what the page at Best Buy, $13.99. Again, 32 gigabytes of RAM, Iris Xe, 1 terabyte of storage. They're calling it silver, but it's this basalt gray, and it's this color. And as I take that off, it's this color right here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Loving it. You know, remember I took a look at this at CES, and I got a chance to look at it. But now that I have a actual retail unit, I guess this is or at least a review unit, a final production unit, I should say. This is absolutely gorgeous. Love the fact that it's so thin and light. So you're saying about 2,000 Canadian. Okay, you probably know better than me. So Raphael, this is the Best Buy USA. That is correct. Best Buy USA. Keyboard looking good. Let's take a look at the backlight. So maybe you can see it from here. I haven't really checked that out yet. So it says brightness up right there. So you can actually see it a little bit. So here it is, brightness mid. This is the second. This is all the way up right here. You can actually get a good look at, you can sort of see it. Yeah. So from that angle, you can see it. It's individually lit up, it looks like, I guess. Yeah. It's white against these dark keys. So there should be no problem seeing them in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Like to see that. So if we look at the keyboard and take an even closer look here, you will see a webcam shutter button there, key there. That's always good to have. Microphone mute button right there. You've got your up and down arrows here, page up, page down. Okay. How does the processor performance compare to the M1? Well, it depends. I think this one won't perform as well as we saw with the P series, like with the 1360p. And I'll show you a good example tomorrow when I release that video on the MSI Summit E13 Flip Evo. Yeah, that is a mouthful, that's for sure. But this keyboard is actually looking pretty good. And one of the unusual things you don't normally see on a thin and light like this is such good port selection. Again, I showed you the ports. For those that are wondering, while we're running this benchmark, the ports are here, and we can move it a little bit over here. So we're looking at, and I could pause it there. We're looking at one USB-A port, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, full function, one HDMI 2.1 TMDS. So it's not a true 2.1, according to some of you. And then one 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack. So pretty decent nonetheless. All right, so one thing we can do once this is finished running, I will test the audio. We can compare it to the MacBook. I'm not expecting it to be as good as the MacBook Pro. That's asking a lot. So that's asking a lot, in my opinion, because the MacBook Pro 14 is really the best in class as far as that ultra portable type thin and light laptops are concerned. There's no doubt about it. Yes, Raphael, you know it. I always do my homework. I try to, at least. And when I don't know something, I just ask you guys. So One Bad Van's got an M1 iPad in front of him. Yeah, I have one here. Oh, I have the M2 iPad, 11-inch, the M2. A lot of unused potential, untapped potential with that chip on the iPad, I think. Curious to see if this laptop could knock the X1 Carbon as being the king of portability. Well, the X1 Carbon does have a lot of the good ports we like, but this has also pretty good ports. That would be an interesting comparison, right? I don't have one. I don't have the new one yet. I'm hoping to get that very soon from Lenovo. We'll see. But yeah, that might make for an interesting comparison, right? So we'll see. Thanks, Will W. Yeah. How does this ASUS 13 compare to the 14 I recently reviewed? Well, this is not going to be as powerful. I can tell you that right off the bat. It's not going to be as powerful. Let me bring it on to the stream while this is running. So this is the, and you can see this is already collecting fingerprints. But this is the ASUS Zenbook 14 Q420. Now the Q410 was the one that I showed you in the last video. That only had 8 gigabytes of RAM. A lot of people criticized it, but again, at $799, I think it's pretty hard to criticize them too much. But this is the 16 gigabyte version, and I'm loving it. This is actually a lot thicker, of course. It's a little bit bigger. It also has an H series processor, the Core i7-13700H. That is a 45-watt CPU, folks, versus a 15-watt. So definitely you'll do better on performance with this one. And to be honest with you, this is not that much bigger than this. Now, this also has a 120 hertz refresh rate, whereas this has a 60 hertz refresh rate. So there are some key differences between the two. And you can see them here. So both have pretty glossy displays here. But this one is pretty nice. I will have a full review. I will compare the i5 model that I looked at, and of course with the i7, which we have here. Okay, and a lot of screen glare here. I have a lot of light, so just to be fair. Okay, so this is an absolutely gorgeous display. This gets us 550 nits peak brightness. This is 550 peak brightness. So yeah, this is pretty good stuff from ASUS. I like the fact they're going all OLED all the time on their Zenbook line. Pretty impressive. And of course, you have the ASUS numpad here that you can just press like that. It comes and goes. You can crunch numbers, calculate things if you need it in a pinch. Of course, I wouldn't use it on a regular basis, but it's there if you need it. And again, you don't find that normally on a 14-inch laptop. So pretty interesting. And then, of course, you can see the difference in the keyboards here. A little bit more space on this one. Of course, you have more room to work with. And then you can see they both go 180 degrees. This one doesn't go quite as flat as this one. So just keep that in mind. This one has pen support, supporting the ASUS Pen. Put it up a little bit. Now you can get a good look at these two new offerings from ASUS. Yeah, I don't use my iPad much now that I have my M2 MacBook. Definitely needs more Mac OS features to tap into all that power. I agree. I use my iPad every day, and it's the M2 iPad, but I do it more for consuming media than anything. Surfing the web, stuff like that. So, like it. I like it a lot. Okay. So this is still running. You can see here. And I'm not expecting a huge performance out of this. This should be done pretty soon. And then we can maybe do a sound test. Now, I'll bring out the MacBook, but of course, it's almost unfair at this point, right? We're not going to get the same kind of sound out of this ultra thin light laptop than you would a MacBook Pro, but it will give you an idea of what you can expect. And again, it's almost unfair to do it that way, but you know what? Let's do it, you know. Yeah, you know, you thought you'd use it for more. I also have the cellular. Yeah, I thought I'd use it more, but I have a 14 Pro Max and find it more comfortable on the couch. iPad gets a lot of use when I'm out camping all summer as it's cellular. Yeah, I have the 5G model. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have an 11-inch iPad Pro. So how's everybody doing? Just a casual Thursday night, running some benchmarks in a brand new unboxing. And for those joining us late, it is the ASUS Zenbook S13 OLED here for 2023. Next to it, of course, is the ASUS Zenbook 14X OLED. This is the Q420 model. So the Q420, as opposed to the 410 that I looked at, this has 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM, and it also has more storage, I believe, on this one, and it also has a Core i7 13700H as opposed to the Core i5. So definitely seeing a nice performance bump in there. What blew me away, according to One Bad Van, was my M1 iPad is the 256 gigabyte model, and the SSD speeds are over 3,000 for read and write. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of it's wasted. Now, this is the score we're getting here. And as I suspected, you know, it's going to be perfectly fine for everyday use. So multi-core, you don't normally use it all the time. It's more single cores where you're going to get it. But 6632 is exactly where I thought this really ultra portable, thin and light laptop would fall. So let me do that, get that screenshot. All right, well, I'll test the single core and I'll put it in the video. In the meantime, let me bring in the MacBook Pro so we can get an idea of the sound. And again, I don't know if it has Dolby Atmos and all that stuff. Let me get this set up real quick. Hold on. A little dirty, but as you know, it doesn't really matter. All right, so let me bring it up. Let me go to, give me just a second to go to Epidemic Sound. Okay. It's royalty-free music, folks. Okay, so let me put this over here. And let me bring this off camera for a moment. Keyboard's looking pretty good. It's actually really good. I want to touch the screen, but it's not a touch screen, for those wondering. Okay, let me go to my saved music. Okay, so we're going to use the track called by Cushy. And let me check real quick. Let me make sure this is on 100% volume. There we go. Let's make sure this is on 100% volume. And let me also just see if there's a Dolby Atmos. If there's a Dolby Atmos, so Dolby Access. So I'm gonna enable this, and you can see what I'm doing here. So let's skip this. Let's go to the settings. So we want the headphone. We want the. Does it have it? Hold on. How do we enable this if it does have it? We don't disables. No, we don't want to do disabled. Okay. I think we're okay. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, let's just get an idea. Let's just get an idea of what the sound is. We're going to do this track and we're going to start it right here. I will check it again. Don't worry. I'll go back to the Dolby Atmos in a moment. Let me go back to the Dolby Atmos app. Let me just make sure I didn't uncheck it, because I think I did, according to One Bad Van. All right, so let's go to the settings. Oh yeah, see, you're right. So right now is on music, but let's actually put it on dynamic. That's supposed to deliver the best sound according to this. So it's on dynamic now. Let's redo the test. Let's start right here. Okay, let's do that. Let me get the microphone ready. So obviously the MacBook Pro does sound better, but I got to tell you, this sounds pretty good. And when you put it on the dynamic setting on the Dolby Atmos, it certainly does give it a little bit more enhancements in terms of the spatial audio. So definitely pretty good, pretty good. These are Harman Kardon. You can see it here on the lid there. Harman Kardon tuned speakers. So sound by Harman Kardon, pretty good. All right, so MacBook, of course, is still the king of the sound in terms of the laptops. No doubt about it. Okay, so where are we? Let's see here. So we're at an hour and 16 minutes. According to One Bad Van, I would be curious to see how the MacBook Air speakers compare to some of these Windows laptops. They aren't up to par with the Pros, but should give still good, most Windows a good run for their money. Yeah, you know what was really good, and I tested that, was the Yoga 9i from Lenovo. I thought that had a really good, and I think it's helped out a lot by that the soundbar, the rotating soundbar. That was really good. All right, so that's the Zenbook the Zenbook S13 OLED. You can obviously see it here. It is pretty nice, folks. I like what I'm seeing here. Good sound out of the speakers, Dolby Atmos sound, pretty rich and full for such a thin and light laptop. And remember, it's only 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds. Look at this, is ridiculously thin. Look at that. Great port selection for such a thin and light laptop, and I don't think that's something we normally see, right? And the build quality looks great. This is the basalt gray is what they're calling it. It's almost like a slate. It's almost like a stone feel. It's really good. Let's see how it compares to the Nano. Yeah, I don't have the Nano in front of me, but that's more of a business laptop, but definitely also one of the lightest out there. I hope to get the latest version of that very soon. So hopefully, Lenovo, if you're listening, I'm ready for it. So send over what you got. All right. So let's pretty much wrap it up today. I want to thank the moderators for doing such a great job. Moderating, of course, and nice little turnout here. Great to have you always, of course. I'll have a recorded video on this very soon, and I will have more to say on this. I have a lot of other stuff coming, so you don't want to miss out. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and we'll see a lot of you hopefully in the next live stream, and I'll see you in the next video. So until next time, folks, I will see you. Take care. Have a great rest of your day and the rest of your week, and have a great weekend if I don't see you. Until next time, see you. Bye-bye.